Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a whole new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host Zoe with my co-host on the other side, Cantu. Obviously the last time we've talked to y'all was about a week ago,
It's,
pretty much.
it's been a while.
Yeah, so we talked about this past weekend, just giving ourselves a break, enjoying Memorial Day weekend, obviously observing all the veterans and all the lost ones that have fallen for this beautiful country that we're living in right now. And like I said, we just took that weekend off. Obviously, the Oakland series, the Astros took care of business on the first part of their road trip. And then episode 182, Astros avoided sweep in the PNW, meaning the Pacific Northwest. Astros going into this series, Angel, 3.5 games. Game three, they're looking at 6.5 games back from that AL West. And obviously, they were able to avoid the sweep, winning today's game on Thursday, May the 30th. And I think it was an important one. You didn't want to get swept over there in Seattle, and being able to minimize that gap of 6.5 at 5.5, even though it doesn't really sound that much better, but being able to get a win on the last part of the road trip and maybe taking that momentum going into Minute Maid Park for two important homestands against the Minnesota Twins and St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, I think the Astros really shot themselves in the foot on this one. They had an opportunity to even be tied or even take over sole possession of first place if they would have swept the Mariners. But it was a tough series for the Astros offensively. I think pitching was great. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, I think they kind of foiled an opportunity they had to, gain some ground, as you might say. Because again, they don't play like their division rivals as much as they used to. So playing them as much, like taking advantage of when you do play them, especially when you're down in the division, it's crucial because I'm gonna need some help from the other teams in the major leagues to kind of gain some ground.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be very important these upcoming games. It was good that they took care of business in Oakland. Like we've talked about last year, they struggled against losing record teams. Oakland, KC was one of those teams as well. They just could not buy a win against them, avoiding sweeps and all that stuff. And being able to take care of business in Oakland, obviously finishing the road trip 3-4, and then going to Seattle. I mean, like you said, I mean, there was a bunch of winnable games. Game two, game three was obviously winnable games, one-run games as well, which the Astros have struggled through this season in one-run game situations. But before we get started with our episode, Angel, how was your weekend? Like I said, how was your week? Obviously now I know there's no more school, no more teaching.
Oh
I
yeah,
bet you that feels
absolutely.
good.
Oh yeah, it feels good. I feel like I have a bunch more time on my hands to do either some video work or get the outline ready for us as well. But it was good. We went to my family and I went to Waco. Just chillax. Went to Dr. Pepper Museum there. Went to the silos over there as well. So it was a pretty good trip. But I know you also went out of town. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we went to Minnesota just to take a weekend trip. Go out there and just take in all the nature. I honestly think a camping trip, because obviously you went camping in Waco. I think a camping trip in Minnesota would be like freaking nice. I know there's some
Rico?
nice state parks around here in Texas.
Yeah.
Being in Minnesota, obviously black bears and mooses and all
Yeah, I was
that
about to say, yeah.
see in Texas. I think that'd be pretty cool to kind of, camp in an area out there. I don't know about cabin or pitching a tent, but I think it'd be, being the weather and the nature scenery out there, I think it'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be all fun and games to see a grizzly bear out over there in your campsite for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But also shout out to my wife, my beautiful wife. One
So
year
happy
anniversary,
anniversary.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
happy
1 year
anniversary.
anniversary this past Monday. So being able to celebrate with her, being able to be out town, I thought that was awesome to get away. But real quick, we got a jam-packed episode. Recap that Mariners series, like Angel said, Astros offensive woes, future of some Astro players, because there are some players right now dealing with injuries and I'm not too sure. Well, we'll talk about here in a minute who's invited to the Carne Asada pitching preview against the Minnesota Twins. News from the trade station around the horn. Angel, get us started where we have these people follow us, subscribe to us, all that stuff. Start us off, man.
Oh, absolutely. I got the recap today. Let's go. So the recap, the Mariner series. I honestly, this was the starting pitchers so to show on this one. They were phenomenal. All four pitchers and all full series. Like you said, All of these games were winnable because the starting pitches kept the Astros in the game. They limited Seattle to 9 runs the entire 4 game series. I know 9 runs seems like a lot, but when it's a 4 game series, that's pretty remarkable. Because I don't know if you remember us talking uh, last year when we talked about over and unders. We had some we about how many runs the Astros scored in a game. We were in the 20s at times, like so.
Mhm.
Even to 9 runs in the entire 4 games, pretty phenomenal. But let me break down the starting pitching for you. So it started with Framber Valdez, 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Then Hunter Brown followed him with 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 9 strikeouts, which Hunter Brown looked great. Justin Verlander, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. He did more of the same for him. And then Spencer Rigetti, probably the best start of his career, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. All of them quality starts. Like I think the Astros again, like I said earlier, they foiled this opportunity because the starting pitching was dominant. The offense just needed to wake up. And speaking of the offense, prior to today's game, the Astros had only scored in 1 inning for the past 8 games. In 1 inning, you're not gonna win too many ball games scoring your runs in 1 inning. So that happened the past 7 games, and during that stretch, they were 2-5. They were fortunate enough in Oakland that they scored like plentiful runs. Let me break it down for you. So this streak started the last game against the Angels. They scored 1 run in the fifth. That was it. They ended up losing that game. The first game against Oakland, they scored 6 runs in the fourth. That was it. Fortunately, 6 runs was enough. They won that game. Second game in Oakland, 1 run in the sixth. They lost that one. Third game in Oakland, 5 runs in the fourth. Again, that was enough to beat the Oakland A's. First game in Seattle, 2 runs in the fifth. Second game in Seattle, 2 runs in the fourth. And then third game in Seattle, 1 run in the fourth. The reason they won this game is because they scored more runs and more innings, right? So that was the anomaly, I guess. Like you can say in the stretch. And the fourth game, they scored in the fourth inning, 2 runs there, and then they scored in the fifth and sixth innings. And it was Spencer Getty pitching lights out. That was all it took. But I gotta ask you, though, we we've seen this offense kind of go through highs and lows, maybe every season, right? That we've been covering the Astros, and now it just feels a little bit different, especially with the slow start they had, like especially the hole they put themselves in. What's going on, or what's happening to the Astros offense? What do you think?
I think it's just inconsistent. I mean, we've talked about this always. I feel like we're always sound like a broken record, but the inconsistency from this offense has just been one of the most deadliest blows in just the season overall. You're going to have some starts that pitching does phenomenal, and then you got the offense that just slows down and just scores maybe 1 run or no earned runs. But it starts at the top of the lineup. Jose Altuve's been a little bit cold these last couple games, especially in the last 15 games. He's batting 234. In the beginning of the season, remind you, in the beginning of the month of March and April, this guy was like hitting lights out. 346, I want to say, was the batting average in March and April before it got to May, or even getting to the first week of May. After that, he's kind of been cold a little bit. So yeah, it starts from the table setter from Jose Altuve. Kyle Tucker, this past game against George Kirby, which that game against Verlander him was going to be a pitcher's duel no matter what. No matter what. The veteran going against a guy that's in his second or third year in the bigs. And Kirby has shown that he doesn't walk a lot of people. He's going to make you put the ball in play. And sure enough, in that game, there wasn't a lot of walks. Nobody was taking pitches. And if they were taking pitches, they were right down the middle or in the strike zone, obviously. So to answer your question, it's just been the inconsistency, obviously being the table setter Jose Altuve. Um, but Bregman, too, has been cold in that 4 hole. I kind of liked what Joe Espada did for this Astros lineup coming into this series against Seattle, moving Jerry Pena back in the 4 and putting Bregman, in the 5 hole. Yainer Diaz has been a guy that's been cold recently. Singleton's been cold. Like I said, Jake Myers has been the pretty much the one guy that's been helping this Astros bottom part of the order. Obviously, Victor Caratini, which I'm going to be very intrigued to see these upcoming games. What's it going to happen? Are you going to see Victor Caratini kind of starting a little bit more over Yainer Diaz because of the cold spell that he's going through right now as an offensive production catcher? Or you're gonna, continue seeing Yonder Diaz continue to catch some games. So to answer this question, simplest answer is just the inconsistency from the offense.
Yeah, Altuve's batting 236 in the month of May. He's had only 2 home runs, 22 singles, which is, I mean, it's not bad. But yeah, 236 for Altuve, that's not really where you want to be, or where he normally is at. And then actually, Jordan's not doing too bad in the month of May. I think he's
He's
batting
hitting
286.
300. I think he was hitting
286.
300 on the broadcast. I think he had like the last 19 games he was batting over 300. But
Okay.
the stat you just provided
Yeah,
are
so I'm going based on Fangraphs.
Mhm.
26 games in May. He's played batting 286. I think that slow start, kind of in the beginning, kind of like messed him up, but he's starting to get a lot better. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's like you said, like it starts with the top of the lineup, and even some guys that were hot earlier on are kind of starting to cool down. Like
Mhm.
you mentioned, Yannier Diaz. I could even say Mauricio Dubon as well. He's hasn't seen the playing field a
A
lot, so it's
lot.
kind of hard to get hot. So I think that kind of be a factor on that. But yeah, it's just again, situational hitting. It all goes to that. Because they had opportunities to score in all of those games, and
Multiple games.
yeah,
Obviously, in this series against Seattle, there was a bunch of opportunities.
and then but these opportunities are usually coming with 2 outs or 1 out, 1 runner first, and get a double play out, or that 10th inning when it went to extras. I think they saw like what 5, 6 pitches, and they were like two, like a shallow fly ball. That was 1 out, a deep fly ball, and then with a third out. So it's just you know
Real quick to
not
that inning too, the Mariners executed correctly.
yeah.
Dominic Calzone hit a ball to second baseman. And then after that, runner on third, 1 out, gives you a better opportunity to win the games. Obviously, Taylor Scott couldn't get it done, but that's how you win the game. It's kind of like, you know, it's like in high school baseball, what they teach you is like runner on first with what, 1 out, maybe not even 1 out, just no outs, sack bunt, get the guy over to second, move him over to third, bring him in from third to home. And the Astros have struggled through that a bunch of these games. But another thing I want to mention is, you got to give credit to Seattle starting pitching. I mean, this is one of the best rotations in Major League Baseball, no doubt. Bryce Miller had the Astros number the whole game. Credit too to the umpires that they weren't calling a game pretty for both sides. It was just kind of pitiful. But Bryce Miller making the Astros hitters uncomfortable, making the Astros hitters chase. Then Luis Castillo comes in. After Luis Castillo comes George Kirby. And the Astros were fortunate enough to get after Logan Gilbert, who's had a pretty decent ERA this season so far. So, you know, it is come to the inconsistency of the offense, but at the same time, too, strong pitching is going to do a phenomenal job against hitters like this.
Yeah, and then it just goes to what we've been preaching all year for this Astro club is not everything being on par with everything else. What again, pitching was great, the offense disappeared. So again, trying to get all of those tangents that you need to win a baseball game together is gonna be crucial for the Astros.
Yeah, they won't see Seattle till July 19th. That's the next time they'll face them. They'll be at T-Mobile Park. But yeah, the Seattle team right now, I mean, the offense is just not there, but the pitching is just going to keep them, you know, for a fight to live another
Yeah,
day.
which is surprising because they had some good ball players on the other side.
Oh, dude, they have a bunch. I mean, Julio Rodriguez is not even hitting the way he's been hitting, how
Yeah,
last year in the other season he was. So
yeah.
when their offense starts clicking, I mean, it's going to be a different team, I'd say, for them.
And I'm sure they're playing with a chip on their shoulder too. So it's not surprising this hot start, missing the playoffs last year. 2 games, missing the wild card and the division by 2 games. So I think that pretty
Yeah,
hurts them too.
definitely. Joshua, he's back on the chat saying, "Hey guys," and then happy belated anniversary to me. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the standings kind of look when they play Seattle the next time in July.
Okay.
Interesting to see. But let's move on to the future for some of these Astro players. Can you give me these 3 players real quick? Do you think I'm about to talk about?
Well, there's some uncertainty with Jose Urquidy, especially since that injury. So I'm gonna go with him.
Okay, that's one.
Uh, Astros and the hot seat. Abreu, it's another one on the hot seat.
That's another one.
and then maybe Singleton.
Okay, you got 2 out of 3. Missing Jose Urquidy. So let's start off with Urquidy. I mean, obviously, Astro fans and a bunch of, just even the Astros front office and organization was looking forward to seeing him back on the mound for the Astros. He's yet to make his season debut in 2024. Having that setback over there in spring training after so many good games that he's pitched. And now he's throwing and progressing, getting the rehab starts done. And in his final rehab start, he just couldn't throw in the 5th inning, I believe. And it was, with some uncomfort. And like I said, exits his third and last rehab start, which really is unfortunate for Jose Urquidy. Dana Brown on the Sean Salisbury show this past Wednesday had mentioned that he's really worried about Jose Urquidy's injury. Would you like to dissect one by one, or let's get the 3 out the way and go right there?
Let's get let's get the first 2, and then we'll talk about since they're both pitchers.
Okay, so let's go with Cristian Javier next, which is another important starting pitcher for the Astros. He's been on the IL already this season with neck discomfort. Now he's placed on the 15-day IL with right forehand discomfort. Not forehand, but forearm discomfort. Obviously, Alex Spears was the guy to be recalled from AAA Sugarland, and Dana Brown had to say this for both guys. He said, quote, "We're getting a couple opinions from our docs. I would think we should know in 48 hours on those guys. Even if they're down for a month or 2 or whatever it is, we'll know in 48 hours. We're still good enough." There's a lot of uncertainty here, I would say. First, what worries for, I would say, Astro fans is getting more opinions, a couple of opinions. Good. That is never good.
Yeah, that's
obviously good. You get your first doc to give his opinion, and he'll give you the initial diagnosis. Now you're getting a couple of opinions from a doc from here, a doc, let's say from Methodist, from Memorial Hermann, from Ben Top. You're getting multiple opinions, which is not what you want to hear, especially when the injury comes from a right forearm discomfort.
Okay. Yeah. Give me your as soon as I saw second opinions, like what you were getting at, I was like, that's not good news. Like again, I'm sure they got something they didn't want to hear, and they just want to be starting before they move to certain steps it might take. Right. As I'm thinking right now, the most I'm worried about is Jose Urquidy, because with this history of arm problem, I think he's going to have to face something he's been avoiding, and that could be Tommy John surgery, especially, it's just unfortunate to cover, so he's making his season done for. And then Cristian Javier, I think I need to hear a little bit more about what's going on with Javier. I know he's had these, again, like you said, neck injury, not the form strain. I don't want to say it's Tommy John right away. Again, I want to hear more news on that, but it's not good. And the reason why I wanted to talk about these 2 first is because we've kind of been, whenever we ask the question about should the Astros get another, pitcher, maybe the trade deadline, free agency or something like that, we've kind of mentioned that, well, they have these guys, Jose Urquidy, Cristian Javier, Justin Verlander, right? And then you have McCullers and Luis Garcia coming in the back end. But now, if Jose Urquidy and Cristian Javier are out, you kind of say, even if McCullers and Luis Garcia are back, you're still kind of in the same boat you were to start the season. Instead of getting reinforcements, you're like just putting them in those missing spots and not have any backup plan, right? So at this point, it's not looking pretty for these 2 guys, unfortunately. And not having that depth at all kind of like puts the Astros in the hot seat. They probably need to make a move. And it's going to be hard to make that move because they don't have any like top tier prospects that seem kind of enticing. And if they do trade them off, that just kind of puts the farm system back. Like they're going backwards in the farm system. Like instead of building it up, they're kind of falling backwards there, and they're over the luxury tax too. So it's like it's just kind of in a bad situation for the Astros right now to make a move. Again, limited prospects and not enough money, I guess you can say. kind of has you scratching your head, like what's to come. I think right now you're thinking about that next man up mentality, but some of these guys are coming up have no prior experience. Like you're seeing Urquidy, how he started off in the beginning, and now he's hats off to him. He's working his way back, right? But you don't, it's kind of hard because you don't have that depth, you don't have that thing. It's be hard to build up where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean Joshua agrees with you. Worried that Kitty and Javier both might need Tommy John surgery, and then he says the fact that they're both seeking second opinions is not a good sign to me. And then just to testify to what you're saying too, and they already pushing up against a second tax threshold, so I won't be surprised if they don't make any moves. Whether Katie, his injury history, and I was curious about it. I'm looking back in 21, he's dealt with shoulder and arm problems. 23 in the beginning of the season, he dealt with a shoulder injury, and now coming into the 24th season, he was dealing with forearm. Same thing as Christian Javier. Obviously, you've seen the velocity drop a tick
Yeah.
or a tick or two, or really about 3 ticks down from the average that he was like around 95, I would say, in 2022. It's gone down to 91 to 90, maybe even 89.
He has thrown some pitches already.
Exactly. So, two, fatigue could set in because the Astros are making multiple trips to the postseason. 7 consecutive ALCSs just show right there. But to agree with you with the farm system, next man up mentality, who is the next man up? Who is going to be that next man for the Astros if they don't get nobody at the trade deadline?
Which
Because
doesn't seem likely.
it doesn't seem likely at all. And to make what you were saying too with the tax threshold that they're at, the second part of it already, you just don't see the Astros making any moves anytime soon. They're hoping Eric Lar, the guy, the left-handed
Yeah.
southpaw pitcher that pitched really well for the Brewers, I would say in 21 and 22. And then he got DFA'd, went to the Pirates, designated for assignment from over there, and then the Astros pick up. I'm thinking right now the Astros are really hoping he can revamp to that 2022 form that he was at and possibly kind of help the Astros starting rotation. Because, like you were saying too, with McCullers and Garcia coming back, that doesn't mean any injury is gonna, happen in the future for those guys. Knock it on wood because you don't want to wish on anybody having an injury. You just have to be more safe about it. You have, like you're saying, you need reinforcements. And right now that the farm system where they're at, who are you going to trade? Pedro Leon right now is hitting really well for them. I don't know who you can get for him. Jacob Melton got onto Baseball America's top 100 prospects, which the Astros already traded away 2 prospects for Justin Verlander last year for Ryan Clifford and Drew Gilbert. Right now, you got Joey Luperfido. So we'll talk about the trade chips here in a minute because I do want to get your opinion on that.
I
Let's go with
I do want to have something to say. Like when he did mention Luis Garcia and uh, McCullers coming back, you do have to play it safe, but there's also no reassurance how well they're gonna do. They haven't
exactly.
seen live hitters in so long. They haven't played in a actual baseball game in so long. And honestly, the only way I see them trading somebody and getting a good package back is trading Alex Bregman. But I will be shocked. I will be surprised if they trade Alex Bregman. I think that's their only, like, honestly, if they don't want to trade any prospects because it is so thin out there, that's the only trade I see. Alex Bregman going to a contender and getting some prospects back. But again, I would
You
be
see, and
shocked.
I, in my eyes, my opinion, my thought, I think the Astros should trade Alex Bregman.
Okay.
You got an infielder like Mauricio Dubon, utility man. I feel confident enough. If you are the Astros, you can move him at third base. You've seen the way he swings the bat. He does really well with runners in scoring position, which he could be a part of that middle part of the lineup or even the bottom part of the lineup. But you can grab some prospects back out of that package if you do decide to trade Alex Bregman. So real quick, let's move on to Jose Abreu, and we'll talk about a little bit more packages here. With Abreu being back, coming from Sugarland, that what was it, 3 games that he played over there over the weekend with the Space Cowboys. Since return to Houston, he's batted 2 for 10, 1 RBIs. Half of those at bats are strikeouts, 5 strikeouts out of 10 at bats. More from Dana Brown on the Sean Salisbury show on Sports Talk 790. He said, quote, he's a veteran and hope he turns the corner. If he can't turn the corner, we'll have to deal with, but there's a ton of games left. Going forward, if he doesn't get hot, we're going to have to make a decision. Adding on to that, how long? I don't know, but it's insight and we're aware of it. If he can't get hot and turn the corner, we'll have to have a different discussion. Reminding everybody in the audience that this wasn't a signing from Dana Brown. This wasn't a signing from James Click. It was in that part where James Click, Astros went separate ways, had him move along. Astros didn't have a GM, so it was Jim Crane, Jeff Bagwell, and maybe another, front office member. Maybe, I don't know. And that was the signing with Jose Abreu. The first season looked really well. Obviously, it was a slow start for him, but in the second half of the season, he finished with 90 RBIs for the Astros. And right now, I mean, he's batting 111. If he continues this trend, what do you look at? What do you go for? Do you see them DFAing him? Because if that's the case, that's going to be a lot of money lost, and that's going to be a bunch of money owed to Abreu.
Sure. I mean, I feel like the way Dana Brown says, you got to kind of cross your fingers and hope he turns the corner, because then they're going to be in a tough spot of what do they do with Jose Abreu, and it could be designating for him for assignment. I think in order for that to happen, he would have to continue this trend. Like, there has to be no progress made. I think if he shows a little progress, they'll roll with it. They'll roll with the punches, but it's just how much progress does he show? Like, how much? Mm-hmm. How big is this rope, right? Like sometimes like how long is this leash, right? Is it a short leash or long leash, right? I don't know.
So real quick, putting you on the spot, what's the leash going to be like? How many days are you giving Abreu to kind of revamp himself and say, okay, if it doesn't happen in this certain day and time, then we're going to have to, go our separate ways?
I wouldn't say days. I would say probably like a week, like a few weeks. Like a month again, just
like
because,
14 days and all.
Yeah, just because I mean, like they do respect Jose Abreu. Like, they respect him as a, as a human, as a player. Like, they, he's a real leader in the clubhouse. Like, they don't want to get rid of him. But at the end of the day, you need the best 9 on the field. At the end of the day, you're trying to win baseball games, and when someone's holding you back, you have to make those tough decisions. You have to make those tough conversations, right? But I think the Astros are hoping he turns a corner. His swing speed was prior to being sent to Florida was around the 60s, back to 72, which kind of puts him in the average of that 75 miles per hour. So, I mean, that's a good step forward. I think putting some good at bats for Jose Abreu will be a key. I would say if he can limit the strikeouts. And I just get on base, like work some walks, get some hits. I think they'll stick with him. And then something he does need to work on is his defensive play, still a problem at first base, I would say. Now, I know like baseball's weird. When you come back to baseball, the ball tends to find you. And there were some tough plays that would have been questionable if any other first baseman makes. But I think a good defensive first baseman makes those plays. I think like that ball down the corner. I mean, it was a shot. So by Josh Rojas, it kind of cost him a little bit. But again, if Singleton's there's no guarantee he makes that play either. So it's just kind of like, doing the little things right at first base, and that kind of gives you like a little step up.
So going into early trade talks, early trade deadline kind of acquisitions, I guess you can say. We've talked about if the Astros are, a couple of games out of the AL West, out of the postseason. We talked about what players they should sell. Okay. Well, let's go back to that conversation again. Listen, it's a little early on. It's going to be June coming up pretty soon. Do you think the Astros could put a potential package with Jake Myers or Chas McCormick, Pedro Leon, or I had another guy in my head, but I can't, or even Jacob Melton? Do you see any of these guys being a trade package if the Astros are buyers at the trade deadline?
If they're buyers, I mean, I wouldn't see it. I mean, I could see it. It would have to be close. It would have to be close. Like, they have to be either contending uh, for the division because I feel that the way they're at, that's the only way they're getting to the playoffs because there's other great teams in the American League that are going to get those wild card spots. So I honestly think there might be only one team from the AOS going to the playoffs, and it's going to be the division winner because just the way the Texas Rangers, battling injuries, just like the Astros. So it's just a matter of, I mean, how close they are, I guess, to the division. But again, just to answer your question, I could see it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but uh,
Do you see any of those players that I named though
oh,
being sent?
uh, there's a saying, always trade the prospects for the big name. So I would say Pedro Leon. No,
Pedro Leon. Okay, so I'm going with Pedro Leon, and I think it just depends who's the hotter hand in outfield right now. Because if Jacob Myers is up there, then Chas McCormick. Everybody knows what Chas McCormick could do. Just go back to the 22 World Series, even last year with the way he's been producing hitting, which right now he's on a slow start. He can produce at any level. Same thing as Jake Myers. Whoever has a hotter hand stays, and I think the other outfielder gets traded because he got a guy like Joey Luperfido that just got option to AAA, and you could bring him back for that outfield depth.
I know they traded Drew Gruber last year, but I think Joey Luperfield is a guy that's kind of like getting the Kyle Tucker treatment when he was younger. There's no way they're trading him. Like again, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked if he goes anywhere else.
Oh, I'd be definitely shocked with you. Because they've already DFA'd Brandon Bielak and sadly
Corey Jokes.
Yeah, I was gonna go with that.
Oh,
But sadly,
my bad.
the A's. No, you're good. Sadly, the A's DFA'd him pretty quick.
I know.
And then, like you were saying, going to Corey Jokes, who's found a home over there in Chicago.
He's playing good.
Doing really well. Yeah, he's really doing well over there. He's earning over 300 right now for the White Sox. So, yeah, I'd be shocked. I agree with you. I'd be shocked if they do send away Joey Luperfido because we've talked about in the last episode or 3 episodes ago that he knows how to play outfield. He knows he's capable of what he's doing in this league, especially playing at the major league level. But as of right now, you got to get that kid most at bats. He's not going to do anything good on the bench. Get the guy some more at bats, consistent at bats. Maybe, do some defensive changes at first, outfield, whatever you want to do. But I agree. I would be completely, completely shocked if they do trade Luperfido.
You know what? And I often forget Greg Kessinger's still on the major league squad. I think he's only played in 11 games, no hits so far.
Exactly. That's why I said putting Mauricio Dubon at third, you still have a utility infielder.
Yeah.
So, Tony Yayo, real quick. Spencer Spaghetti and Hunter Brown emergence saving this rotation. He said they need to bring back Trey Mancini to play first base. The defense at first base, if you remember that key play in the 22 World Series. And then he said for Paul Goldschmidt, which Goldschmidt has been in the same boat as Jose Abreu, but Goldschmidt is starting to figure out the silver slugger that he was.
Yeah.
So it'll be it. Just have to see.
It'll be interesting to see how the Astros are in June and July. I know we're coming up in June already, right? But more like in that July season, I want to see
after the All-Star break.
I want to see where they're at. Then things will get a little interesting there. I feel like if they can't turn the page, I mean, I don't see them just giving up this season, but it'll be interesting to see where they're at. But let's move on to who's invited to the Carne Asada. And honestly, this isn't be a potluck. This is an all-pitcher Carne Asada because that's the only people invited to the Carne Asada is all the starting pitchers. They did phenomenal. Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, Justin Verlander, Spaghetti. You know what? It'd be a potluck with tacos. Everybody's bringing their own meats. There's gonna be some fajita in there that's gonna be brought by Justin Verlander. Then you got some chicken that's gonna be brought in by Hunter Brown's. Even spaghetti tacos.
That's what I was gonna say. Isn't there a show back then when we were like growing up that somebody had put tacos, like spaghetti in their tacos?
Yeah, I think it was Rick and Josh. I'm not mistaken. It could have been.
It's one of the Nickelodeon shows, right?
I think so.
See, I knew something like that.
Yeah, everybody's bringing something for the tacos.
Spaghetti tacos.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at that real quick.
Also, Josh Hader will be in this Carne Asada. He's been bringing the beans. He pitched 2 innings, 3 hits, 0 runs, 5 strikeouts. Looking really good. And only one offensive hitter is going to be in the Carne Asada, to be Alex Bregman. 5 for 16 this series, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, and 3 hits. But yeah, it's gonna be an all starting pitching Carne Asada. Be eating tacos. Everybody brings their own meats.
Yeah, now I found it. It's from iCarly.
Oh, kind of the same. Drake and Josh, same
Oh
actor.
yeah, it was the
And
same era, I guess you can
yeah,
say. Which yeah, that era was special growing up. If you haven't seen that documentary too on
yeah, it's crazy,
Nickelodeon,
crazy.
that's freaking crazy. Like you said, crazy AF. But let's start off with the pitching preview versus the Minnesota Twins, basically where I came from, Minneapolis. 31-25 is their record, 7-3 in their last 10 games. They won both their series against the Texas Rangers and the Kansas City Royals. So they're definitely on a hot streak right now. Friday night lights in the H of the Juice Box, 7:10 start time. You have Pablo Lopez with a 4.5 record, 5.25 ERA. He'll be going against Ronel Blanco, 5-0 with a 1.99 ERA. And Pache, as they call him, Mr. Lopez, last start versus the Rangers, 4 and 2/3, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. His last start against Houston, though, Angel, the last time he was at Minute Maid Park, he shoved against the Astros. That was game 2 of the ALDS. 7 innings, 6 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. He hasn't looked like that ace that he was
Yeah.
last year for the Twins. He's been struggling a little bit more this past season. Right now, Joe Ryan, which we'll get here in a little bit, has been the guy for them. But second through the order for Pablo Lopez, I mean, the hitters just dominate against him. 302 opponent batting average, 547 slugging percentage with an 844 ERA. Dissect it a little bit more, breaking down a little bit more. Fourth inning, 818 ERA, giving up 10 earned runs, 267 opponent batting average. It just gets worse from there. Fifth inning, 1350 ERA, 13 earned runs, a 432 opponent batting average. So right there, usually the fourth or fifth inning, that's when you're looking at the second time around the batting order. Hitters are making adjustments, all that type of stuff. And it just gets worse for him. Men on base, he's given up 28 earned runs, meaning runners on first, runner on second, runner on third, or multiple. 363 opponent batting average, 407 WOBA. Men in scoring position, meaning on runners on second and third, runner on second. Giving up 23 earned runs, 340 opponent batting average with a 365 on base percentage. Angel, when I'm looking at these numbers, I'm completely shocked because this is one of the best hitters that had Cy Young voting last
Mhm.
year for the American League Cy Young Award. And this year he's kind of fall off the wagon. He hasn't been that true ace Minnesota was, looking for this season.
Oh, absolutely. I think this was one of the more surprising outcomes for Pablo Lopez. I believe many people had the Minnesota Twins winning the division just because Pablo Lopez was manning that rotation, at the top spot. So very surprising there. And the Astros got to take advantage again. Although um, Pablo Lopez has been struggling, like you said, he's still an elite pitcher, and
Yeah.
like coming off from Seattle, seeing all those great pitchers, it doesn't get easier with Minnesota as well. So I think just take advantage of that next time up. Again, like you say, like he's struggling that third time around the lineup. That tells me they're either like timing his fastball or not being as deceptive with his pitches as he wants to be. So they just need to take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely, because the changeup has been his best pitch, and it just hasn't been breaking down the zone. It's been really part in the zone, the red spot. But on the other side, Ronel Blanco is a guy that's been not struggling. He's been on top of this world right now. I mean, my gosh, he's been pitching really well for the Houston Astros. Last start versus the Oakland Athletics in his first game back. And we talked about in the last episode, how is he going to come back from, the suspension, from the foreign substance check, all that stuff, because it could break a pitcher down mentally, which we'll have more news about that later on in the show. Last start versus the Oakland Athletics, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. I really don't have nothing to say about him. This kid's confidence is at an all-time high. If he continues to pitch like this is probably your American League All-Star pitcher in the making.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his confidence should be high, like as it should be. And I was about to say that you kind of took the words out of my mouth. There again, he's been doing enough to be an All Star, and honestly, frankly, he could even start the All Star game. I don't see it happening just because there is some bigger names, having a really good season there. But I think he has a really great chance to compete for that starting spot in the All Star game.
Yeah, real quick. I was looking at the stats in the American League. Oh, I thought he was up here, but I guess he's not. He has a 199 ERA. In the American League, Seth Lugo leads the AL with a 172 ERA. Tanner Hueck, 190 ERA. And then Reese Olson, 192. And Luis Gil, 199. These names I would never have thought would be on this list right here.
Luis Gill has been
Luis
nasty.
Gil has been nasty this season, period.
Yeah,
Not past. This season right now, he's pitching like he's literally Gary Cole right now for the
yeah,
Yankees. And
yeah.
that's without Gary Cole pitching this season for the Yanks. But Tony feels the same way like you. I mean, Ronald Blanco will shove tomorrow. We'll have to see about that if he'll be right. But Saturday, 3:10 start time. Joe Ryan will be on the mound for the Twins, 4-3 with a 2.96 ERA. He'll be going against La Grasa, Framber Valdez himself, with a 3.3, 4.34 ERA. Joe Ryan, this guy's been the guy for the Twins this year. Like I said, he's been kind of moving on to the ace position for the Twins team in this rotation this year so far. Joe Ryan, last start versus the Kansas City Royals, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 9 strikeouts. I did not know about this by the KC Royals. They are second in the AL Central.
Mm-hmm.
Just remind you, last year, the two teams in the AL Central was the Twins and the Guardians. Bobby Wood Jr. said, "Hold my beer."
That's the Bobby Wood effect. Yeah.
And Salvador Perez, who's hitting at a great all-time high for the Royals. But back to the Twins. Ryan right now is pitching really well. 214 opponent batting average, 981 strikeout per 9 innings, 121 walk per 9 innings. That just gives you an outline of the ratio 9-1 that he's going to continue pounding the zone. He's going to make hitters chase or just throw that four seamer right past you. But the walk per 9 innings, 3.4 walk percentage, that is the 95th percentile in StatCast, which is pretty damn good. There is a flaw to him, 116.4 max exit velocity, which is bottom 2% of the league. So a lot of hard contact is given up by Mr. Ryan. He is dirty against left-handed hitters, straight up. On the road, 15 innings per, 15 per, not 15 per, 15 and a third. Sorry about that. Innings pitch, 8 hits, only giving up 2 earned runs against left-handed hitters. Carries opponent batting average of 151, of 182 on base percentage. Who's been the hottest hitter in the American League, I would say, as a lefty right now, besides Juan Soto and Gunnar Henderson? It's Kyle Tucker. So this duel between him and Joe Ryan is going to be an all-time high. I'll even throw Yordan Alvarez on there too. It's going to be interesting to see what he could do against them. And then to put it off with Ryan, confident in that slider, but it kind of backfires for him. 2023, he threw it 4.5% of the time. This year, right now, it's in the double digits, 12.2 percentage, 389 expected WOBA, and a 583 expected slugging. So it could be decisive, but at the same time, too, it could kind of backfire on him, when he pitches. But you got anything to add on to Ryan before I move on to Valdez?
No, I mean, you kind of hit it there. I love the breakdown.
I thought you were searching something up on the end. But
No.
Valdez,
Good.
real quick, Valdez, last start versus the Seattle Mariners. Angel High give you that stat. I'm not going to give it to you. But his last start versus Minnesota, that was game 2 of the ALDS. He was not sharp. He wasn't the sharp Framber Valdez that the Astros were hoping for. 4 1/3, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Remind you, Correa did get a RBI double, I want to say. So can't remember, but he did get an RBI out of it. Post All-Star break in 2023, Angel, I wanted to dive a little deep into this. 5-5 with a 4.66 ERA. Continuing on to this season in the beginning of the 24 first part of the season, 3-3 record with a 4.34 ERA. Opponent batting average is a 277 in 2024. We've talked about it, the sinker, the cutter, all the pitches that this guy has, the arsenal that he brings, the success as well as he can bring to. How can Framber Valdez find his 2022 form?
I think it all comes down to that sinker pinch, like the effectiveness. When it's on, he's on. When it's not, he's not. And usually what gets him in trouble is he kind of leaves it out over the plate and kind of has runner on base, right? So when has runners on base, his opponent batting average is 311, which is not good because that means runs are scoring in, right? So I think if we can limit base runners and have that effective sinker, all should go well for Framber Valdez.
I was on mute. But yeah, I mean the ground ball percentage for Frember too has been doing really well for him this season. If he could continue to keep it on the ground, let the defense play behind him, there shouldn't be no problem for him. He should look like himself. But the strikeouts been a different story this year. He hasn't been punching out a lot of batters like he did in 22 and even the first part of 23. It's just been a different Frember Valdez, and it's kind of like you have to accept it. You just got to find a way to get the guys out, and he's done a good job doing that. At least getting the ground ball on the floor.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, on Sunday, 12:05 start time, which was shocking. I thought it would have been a one start, but 12:05. Simeon Woods Richardson, 2-0 record with a 2.70 ERA. He'll be going against Hunter Brown, the Diesel 1.5 record with a 6.39 ERA. And Woods Richardson, this is a guy that's a Sugarland native, Angel. Born in Sugarland, Texas, Texas boy. Went to Kibner High School, which shout out to our Milwaukee Buffaloes who knocked him out of the playoffs this year in the first round. Drafted by the New York Mets in 2018. His last start versus the Kansas City Royals, 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Only allowed 12 earned runs and 8 starts. I think that's a pretty good stat considering 8 starts. You're only giving up 12 earned runs, so that's interesting to see right there. He's usually a guy that pitches really to the 4th and 5th inning. He really doesn't get to the 6th or 7th. Against right-handed hitters on the road, he struggled deeply so much times. Opponent batting average of 327. Slugging is a 500. So if they could get him going, this is a right-handed heavy lineup, excluding Kyle Tucker, excluding Jordan Alvarez, as well as Mr. John Singleton himself. They could do some damage with the Crawford boxes in left field. And then just to add on to this, he does have a 4-pitch arsenal, 4-seam fastball, slider, changeup, curveball. Heavy dosage of that 4-seamer you're going to see a lot. It's not fast, about 92, 93 averages miles per hour. Slider, though, that's his best pitch. 11 strikeouts, 185 opponent batting average, has a 14.7 put away pitch right there. So I'm pretty sure he's going to have a bunch of family from Sugarland come into the Houston area and watch this kid pitch, because that's pretty special when you get a guy coming from a different state, coming back to his roots and pitching on a mound. I'm pretty sure he's probably seen, former Astros play in that stadium.
Absolutely. Should be an exciting matchup for him.
Yeah, but to end it off with Hunter Brown, last start against the not Houston, but Seattle, like you had mentioned. Like I said, not going to mention it again. But it is promising. Back-to-back starts. He's gone through 6 innings. He's looked like a different Hunter Brown, 3-something ERA in his last 4 starts per Ari Alexander. Angel, I mean, are you encouraging these starts? Or are you kind of like, okay, he's built for the starting rotation. I don't see him going to the bullpen anytime soon. What do you think about these last 2 starts?
Yeah, it's very encouraging for Hunter Brown, especially with what we just talked about earlier with the uncertainty of Cristian Javier and Jose Urquidy. When those guys were healthy, we're talking about who's going to be in the bullpen, either Hunter Brown, JP France, right now, and under those guys. But knowing that those two, Jose Urquidy and Cristian Javier, might not be with the Astros for a while, I think Hunter Brown is going to have to be in that last year's work, right, where he's kind of like the guy that they're relying on to eat up innings, to kind of like take over for them, right? So I know it wasn't a great initial.
And he signed off. But yeah, like he was saying, I mean, Hunter Brown's going to have to step up big time for the Astros if he's going to want to continue doing what he's doing as of right now. But Hunter Brown's just done a great job. Obviously, we've talked about in the last couple episodes about him not really pitching well. The last relief appearance was against the Detroit Tigers. He pitched really well in that start. And then from there, he's kind of looked like a different pitcher. And it looks like he's starting to figure out 9 strikeouts against a lineup like the Mariners. I think he's done a really good job to set himself, especially like Angel was saying, with the future of Javier and Jose Urquidy and Dow. We don't know what's going to be the future for them until the Astros have say something, which is most likely going to be tomorrow. But if Hunter Brown could continue doing what he's doing, the Astros should have no problems seeing him in that rotation.
Okay.
All right, you're here now.
Yeah, sorry, my bad about that. Technical difficulties there.
No, but I was just preaching about Hunter Brown, what he's been doing, and the last appearance in the bullpen, he did a good job, and I feel like after that, he's looked like a different pitcher.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like he's gonna have a heavy lift just like last year. trying to make up innings that Christian, Javier, and Jose Urquidy might not get. So him turning the page is what the Astros are hopeful of, so they can be a reliable starter just like he was last year. Like he's gonna be big. Like if they want any chance of being in the playoffs, especially while the injuries they have, Hunter Brown's gonna be the guy that needs to step up.
Definitely. I 100% agree with you. Tony, real quick. Correa is back. Yep. CC4 from Minnesota Twins will be back in the H to play against his former team. I don't know where this comment came from. This is funny. Man, the Indiana Fever suck at basketball. Yeah, I mean, they do got the future over there with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is going to sell out stadiums wherever she goes, at least for the WNBA part. She's a hell of a basketball player. And I think this past year's draft class for the WNBA has just been really well. I think it's trending in the right direction for women's in basketball, at least. And this is an interesting one, too, before we move on to the train station. Like Ryan Garcia wrote, how did not cheat. We had two different opinions on that. Joshua said he did cheat when he used sticky stuff. He did break the rules. A lot of different opinions on that. Ryan Garcia one was really interesting.
Yeah. It's crazy, though. But I guess moving on to the train station, we kind of expedited the earlier news that was going to be part of the train station, like the Jose Abreu and Cristian, just because they were super important. So I would just have a little update. Is Luis Garcia, according to Brian Tiger, Garcia would throw a live bullpen on Friday. I think that's one of his. It's a really step in the right direction. Yeah, I know he's been throwing. I know we got there early one day.
Side bullpens.
Yeah, he was throwing some side bullpens there, but actually throwing an actual bullpens be really, really bright stuff too. Yeah, really bright spot for him, and just some major league news. I guess moving on to Around the Horn. I don't know if you saw that Jorge Lopez debacle. Oh, Jorge Lopez debacle. Jorge. Yeah, sorry, Jorge Lopez debacle that happened over there in New York. It's crazy.
I don't know what's like. To me personally, I've was able to talk to him when he was playing with the Orioles last year. He is one of the kindest persons you're ever going to meet. Genuine, nice. He'll take the time to talk with you, and because I was able to write about him, and he was talking about mental health, and mental health is a huge freaking deal in this world.
So
just like 2 weeks ago or last week, I mean, the golf world lost a golfer due to mental health on a suicide. And that's very tragic. And mental health has to be taken serious. I mean, these guys are humans. They are not just baseball is their job. They get a lot of heat for what they do too. But at the end of the day, they're just like us. Two guys here talking about Astros baseball and even Major League Baseball, get an opportunity to talk about, about players and, writing stories on these guys, telling their stories. These guys are human beings. And for that to happen, what transpired in the clubhouse, and they didn't even get it right. He said the worst teammate. He didn't say worst team in, effing MLB. He said he was the worst teammate and all that. Yeah, it just got carried away too fast.
Yeah, just to recap, I don't know if anybody missed it, but I doubt it's all over social media, right? So, Jorge Lopez was pitching, and there was a check swing. The umpire ruled it safe. Jorge did not agree with it, right? So he gets tossed, walks off the field, throws his glove into the stands. The Mets didn't take too kindly of that. After that, there was a news presence, and they're interviewing about what happened, and he's like, no, I have no regrets. I believe again, and this is why it's important that diversity in media is very, very important. I know we have our guy Manuel doing great stuff over there. He's a Hispanic beat writer over there for the Mets, and he kind of broke it down on Twitter for them, but it's very important, this diversity, especially with a lot of Hispanic players, just because things get lost in translation, especially when guys are not, Jorge Lopez, Spanish is his first language, English is second language. Man, Spanish is my second language, and I've been speaking it forever, and even I get caught up, when I'm trying to talk to these players as well. So it's, very hard to do a language, but he's like he said, I have no regrets. I feel like I've been the worst teammate in the effing major league, right? And the way it sounded like it sounded like he said team, right? So then everybody ran with that. There was no translator at the time. I don't know why. I'm sure I know the meant to have a translator.
He has some good English though. Like when
Yeah.
I talk to him, because obviously my first language is English, and then second, I'm still learning Spanish. But he does speak great English. I mean, of course, like you were saying, there's gonna be a couple words here and there that you can't pronounce correctly, but you can go ahead on with
No, no,
your.
no. But I was going to touch on your point after that. That, that these guys are human, and Jorge Lopez is dealing with mental, like you said, the mental illness part. His son is also has been basically living in the hospital too, fighting his
Mhm.
uh, unfortunate diseases, right? So it's a lot of his mind, like a lot going on, and sometimes it just takes one simple action, one simple move to kind of, especially when you hold those emotions in, one little thing can trigger this huge fire, and that's exactly what happened here. Unfortunately, he was designated for assignment. I did read up that he wasn't that the reason why he was designated for assignment was not because of the comment he said, but the way he threw his glove in the stands and told the media that there was no meeting prior to him being designated for assignment, but there was. So it's just kind of like things just kind of spiraled out of control over there in New York, and unfortunately, like it led to his being designated for assignment. But I I do think Jorge Lopez will find a team soon. He's been pretty phenomenal for the Mets. A little bright spot there, so I think he'll quickly find a team.
Yeah, he's an ex All Star too. I
Yeah,
think he made the All Star team in either 21 or 22. But yeah, even Boomer Esiason, who's a football analyst on his show, expressed remorse for Jorge Lopez, which I'm looking at the tweet right now, came from Awful Announcing. If you want to go out and look at it, listen to the video. But yeah, I mean, his son, like Angel said, he's been at the hospital, living at the hospital, serious health issue, awaiting a transplant. I mean, baseball itself is a game that mentally drains you out. Yogi Berra, I love that Yogiism so much. The game is 90% mental, 10% of it is physical. And when you're dealing with that at home, off the field, and then you got to come back on the field and still have that in your mind, it sucks. It honestly does suck. And the way that it just blew up, because snap of a finger like that, that's the thing with social media and the internet now these days. They take it, they go with it, they run it, and next thing you know, it's everywhere. It
yeah,
is everywhere, and now it just looks bad. So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I honestly feel for him, man. I really do.
Absolutely. And then like his son is in a hospital in Cincinnati, not even New York, so they don't even see each other often as well. So again, I agree with you there. It's an unfortunate situation. I'm hoping he lands on his feet. Great guy, like you said. It's just unfortunate happened to him.
And to end it with the mental part on this topic, if you're dealing with any mental issues or somebody, contact them. Make sure they're okay. Make sure, hey, how you doing? How you been? I haven't talked to you in a while. I just wanted to check up on you. All that will make a person's day. I kid you not. So being able to do something like that, just make sure to check on your loved ones and your friends.
Absolutely, absolutely. But just kind of ended on a good note. The Toronto Blue Jays have revealed their City Connect jerseys, and it's a black jersey with the outline of the Toronto skyline in a blue and red. And then I actually dig the hats. It's a tee, like the old school tee that they used to have with a maple leaf on it.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Let me see. I'm trying to find it, but I did see the jersey about how it looked. Yeah, I mean the Toronto looks like the city skyline. I do like the T actually. I really do.
Mhm.
I dig it. However, since on our rankings of City Connect jerseys, where are you ranking this?
I would say through again. I would have to actually write down the whole list, but I'm putting about 10 through 15, maybe 10 through 20.
I think 10 through 15 is a good one. And if it's out of the 15, I'm looking at 16.
Yeah.
It's not a bad design. But I do have to ask you, a follow-up question with the City Connect jersey. Do you think it's regressed through the years? Like I feel like this season just hasn't been a hit. I think the only one that's been the Tampa Bay Rays. That's it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Those were great. I don't know. I think each city has their own unique, attractions, and that's something that's what they try to fulfill. But I mean, maybe I think it's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't like. I'm like, I lost what I was gonna say. I mean, I don't think they trend in down direction. I just think each city is unique, and there's sometimes sometimes like a city like, for example, Houston has so much they can work with, but they're trying to stamp one part of it. So I think it's just kind of like it's hard to get the mixture of the whole city in a jersey, right? So I think they just pick what they think is the most important part.
I think this is the first jersey that shows a city skyline. I want to say
Hmm.
maybe Philly. I'm not 100% sure,
No,
but
I
I
don't think
know
Philly. No,
at
I think
least
Philly was
seeing
the Liberty Bell.
just the Liberty Bell. I
Yeah.
thought inside the hat it kind of had like an outline of it,
Oh, could
or
be.
somewhere on the patch. I
Well,
don't know.
well, the Mets have the bridge. I mean, they don't have the skyline.
The bridge, the New York subway transit on that one, which I think that's pretty. I think it's nice. It's not top 10 worthy, but it's unique. Like you said, some cities have different uniques. Dodgers are gonna have to kind of come back with their City Connect
I
jerseys.
think those were I think the Dodgers were like the most basic ones, right?
Los Dodgers,
Yeah, just because they've done it before. I think that's kind of like
and
like when
Dodger
it's
blue too.
yeah. So
Tony did say, did Drake design the jersey?
I don't think so.
Maybe he was an influence. Maybe like
Maybe,
five
I don't know.
percent, 5% on it. I mean, he's a big guy over there in Toronto, Canada. Period.
Maybe they have him as a little dot from the little needle on a jersey or something. I don't know.
Oh, and then to add on to around the horn inning again, Angel Hernandez retires.
Oh, I knew there was some news missing when I was writing the outline. And how did I miss that?
Angel
Yeah,
Hernandez retires. I've seen so much crap BS on social media talking about, and of course everybody knows the resume that he has with calling games and getting thrown out. I'm not getting thrown out, but throwing players out, coaches out, and then even suing what wasn't it, the umpire association, I want to say, or
yeah.
something like that. So and then there is one. I'm sorry, I do like this. I would like to talk politics. I don't, but from the presidential years, I think it was George H.W. Bush, George Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and then Joe Biden was the one, not the one, but obviously the year that he retires. So Angel Hernandez retiring from Major League Baseball. Acuna's out for the season. How
Yeah,
can we forget
devastating.
about that?
Yeah, devastating.
Second time it's happening to him, like he says, so devastating. Yeah, you took the words out of our mouth. Yeah, I mean that, and it's the other leg.
Yeah.
So now he's gonna have another ACL jersey on a different leg, and he's gonna be out for half of the 25 season.
Yeah.
Very
Unfortunate
unfortunate for
there.
the Braves.
Unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, but that is it for our episode 182. We didn't even tell you where you can subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to us, make sure you hit that subscribe button or go to YouTube and hit it. Give this video a like, as well as go look at our Spotify platform, Apple Podcasts. Google Podcasts is now not doing podcasts no more. So we're looking at Spotify and Apple as the two major ones. And as well, you can look for us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Wherever you get your social, we are on there. We are giving you the best Astros content, as well as developing and writing our stories on our esquina.com. As you can see on my right and on my left, which is up there, that's where you can find our stories, talking and amplifying the Latino voices in Major League Baseball. But Angel, you got anything else before we sign off?
No, just thank you for listening and appreciate all the support.
Most definitely. Good crowd tonight. Happy Friday. Have a blessed weekend. And we'll give you that recap of the Twin Series and give you the preview of the St. Louis Cardinals, the NL Central team. I think the Astros haven't seen for a good while.
Okay. Be a good one.
Yes. So until then, talk to y'all later. Have a safe weekend. Be blessed.